everyone, my name is Calista. Today my group members and I will be introducing the esophagus as part of our anatomy video assignment. We chose this organ because although it looks simple from the outside, there is actually a lot happening within its structure that helps food move safely from the throat to the stomach. In this video, we'll be taking you through several key sections. We'll start with the basic anatomy of the esophagus, on where it's located and how it's arranged in the body. Then we'll also look at its microscopic structure, followed by how it functions during swallowing. We'll also cover a few common conditions that can affect the esophagus. To help visualize everything more clearly, we'll be using a virtual 3D anatomy model to show different angles of the esophagus. With that, let's begin by looking at the esophagus within the digestive system.
Hi everybody, my name is Kishan and I'll be talking about the anatomy of the esophagus. The esophagus is a muscular tube that connects the pharynx to the stomach. Its main function is to transport food and liquids from the mouth to the stomach by a process called peristalsis. The esophagus is about 25 cm long and it is divided into three parts. The cervical part, which is located in the neck, the thoracic part, which runs through the chest cavity, and the abdominal part, which is short and enters the stomach through the diaphragm. There are four main constrictions in the esophagus. These occur at the upper esophageal sphincter, which the aortic arch crosses, where it is crossed by the left bronchus, and at the diaphragm, these constrictions are clinically important. The wall of the esophagus has four layers, which is the mucosal line, submucosa, muscular layer, and adventitia. As you can see, the esophagus runs through basically the whole body from our mouth to our stomach. The esophagus joins to the stomach at the lower esophageal sphincter, which helps prevent acid reflux. Now I'll be passing it forward to my teammate.
Hi, my name is Alai and I'll be talking about microscopic layer of esophagus. So there are four layers of esophagus. First is mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa and adventitia, and I'll be further elaborating on these layers. The first layer, mucosa, is divided into three parts. First is stratified scorsum non-keratinized epithelium, which protects against abrasion from food bolus. And next is lamina propria, which has loose connective tissues, and muscularis mucosa, which helps maintain mucosal tone and assist minor movements. The second layer, submucosa, has dense irregular connective tissues and it lubricates the lumen for easy passage of food while supporting mucosa and providing elasticity. The third layer, muscularis externa, or known as muscularis propria, is divided into two parts, which is inner circular layer and outer longitudinal layer. Here, the upper third layer is made up of skeletal muscle, while the middle third layer is made up of skeletal and smooth muscle, while lower third layer is made up of smooth muscles only. This initiates voluntary swallowing and continues with involuntary peristalsis. The last outermost layer, adventitia, is mostly made up of connective tissues and its function is to anchor esophagus to surrounding structures while providing structural stability during swallowing.
Hi, I'm Jai. Now let me explain how the esophagus works. From the left, you can see the full picture of the esophagus. Let's look at the upper esophageal sphincter. When we swallow, the process begins as the upper esophageal sphincter opens to allow the food bolus to enter the esophagus. Once the food bolus inside, the esophagus will process with primary peristalsis or coordinated wave-like contraction, controlled mainly by the vagus nerve, which push the bolus downward. This movement is supported by the esophageal wall. They are circular and longitudinal muscle layer. Contract is secret, creating the pressure needed to move food efficiently throughout the stomach. If any food remains or gets stuck, a secondary peristalsis wave occurs. This reflex helps clear the esophagus of residual food or reflexive stomach contract by pushing them backward without any swallow. As the bolus approaches the stomach, the lower esophageal sphincter first contract and then relax, allow the food to enter the stomach. Afterward, it contracts tightly again to prevent gastric reflux and protect the esophageal lining. This is the summary picture to see how the esophagus works from the upper esophagus sphincter to stomach.
Now, I will explain what happens in the esophagus when this disease occurs. First, GERD happens when the lower esophageal sphincter becomes very weak and cannot close properly. As a result, stomach acid flows back into the esophagus. This acid damages the lining of esophagus and can cause irritation, inflammation, and burning sensation known as heartburn. Over time, repeated acid exposure can cause ulcers and tissue injury. The next one is esophagitis. Esophagitis refers to the inflammation of esophagus. It can be caused by acid reflux, allergies, or maybe infection. This esophageal lining becomes swollen and may develop sores. This leads to this leads to pain when swallowing and sometimes bleeding. Third, Barrett's esophagus. Barrett's esophagus developed due to long-term acid exposure. The normal squamous cells of the esophagus are replaced by columnar cells, a process called metaplasia. This condition is dangerous because it increases the risk of cancer. Next, aclasia. Aclasia is a muscle disorder. The lower esophageal sphincter fails to relax and peristalsis is abnormal. Food gets trapped in the esophagus, causing difficulty in swallowing, chest pain, and regurgitation. Lastly, esophageal cancer. Esophageal cancer occurs when abnormal cells grow unconditionally and form tumors in the esophagus. These tumors can block the esophagus and spread to nearby tissues if left untreated. These conditions are diagnosed using medical tools such as endoscopy, which allow doctors to see inside the esophagus. The second one is biopsy. Biopsy is used to identify abnormal or cancer cells. The last one is manometry. Measures muscle movement and pH monitoring checks for abnormal acid reflux. These methods help confirm the diagnosis and guide treatment. In conclusion, esophageal disease ranges from mild inflammation to life-threatening cancer. Early detection is very important because long-term damage increases cancer risk. Lifestyle factors such as smoking, alcohol consumption, and poor diet can worsen this condition.
Hi everyone, I'll be closing our group's presentation with the conclusion. Our group explored the esophagus using 3D organon, and I'll be summarizing how we use the tool, our creative learning process, the key points you should remember, and finally, the references. I'll start off on how we use 3D organon. We use organon 3D mainly to visualize the esophagus in full 3D. The VR model allowed us to rotate, zoom in, and peel away anatomical layers, which made it much easier to understand the structure of the mucosa, submucosa, and the muscular layers. We also use Organon 3D to see the esophagus in relation to the trachea, diaphragm, and stomach. For our creative learning, we took turns identifying structures inside Organon 3D, teaching each other in real time, which strengthened our understanding and made it more engaging. After identifying the structures in VR, we went a step further and connected what we saw to real clinical conditions. For example, we linked the anatomy of the esophagus to disorders like GERD and swallowing difficulties. Being able to visualize these structures helped us better to understand how these conditions develop. I'll now go over a few key points to remember. First, the common misunderstanding of the esophagus. The esophagus relies heavily on its layered muscular structure to perform peristalsis and to move food into the stomach. Its main purpose is transport and not digestion. Finally, the importance of the lower esophagus. Many diseases like GERD come from the dysfunction of the lower esophagus sphincter, which shows how important the structure it is clinically.